Hey guys, how's it going? Coach Tyson from Ox Strength, and today we'll be answering all your questions that you've submitted us on Instagram. So if you haven't followed us on Instagram, make sure you do so that we can feature your questions in the next Q&A videos with other coaches as well. And we also do form checks and many types of different activities with our followers. So make sure you follow us there and stay updated. So आजको question answer को चाहिँ main agenda is to obviously answer your questions, but not make it super duper long. So I'll try and keep it under a minute for each of the questions so that we can get through all of them. And yeah, first question के छ हजुर?
So first question from Jivan Saha. What matters the most when it comes to strength building?
Okay, so strength building भनेपछि चाहिँ it's a combination of a few things. First, most important thing for most beginners would be muscle कति छ, muscle hypertrophy body मा कति छ हैन. So muscle is a byproduct of strength. So muscle bhye pani you could potentiate more strength. Tara as you get more and more advanced, then intensity add गर्नुलाई चाहिँ we need a lot of neuromuscular efficiency, त्यसपछि technical efficiency, all of these things add up हुँदै आफ्नो leverages, आफ्नो strength सँग कसरी खेल्ने, कसरी minimize गर्ने बाट चाहिँ mostly strength build हुन्छ. तर यसमा अब धेरैवटा factors छ which comes from programming, proper recovery, proper nutrition, all of these things. So make sure that you're building enough muscle if you're a beginner and slowly doing the strength exercises over time. And strength is specific. कुन movement मा strong हुनु मन छ हो त्यो movement लाई more and more practice गर्दै गएपछि चाहिँ strength is increased. And I'm sure अरु questions हरु पनि हुन्छ related to strength, so maybe you could त्यो भएपछि सबै answer को it'll start to make more sense. All right, second question.
So second question from Susrat Bantava. What to do 1-2 weeks before meet? How to peak?
So 1 to 2 weeks before meet चाहिँ अब खासै major changes चाहिँ ल्याउन सक्दैन, especially in terms of powerlifting, because most of the work that is needed to perform in a meet is actually done weeks in advance of the meet. So let's say 12 weeks out, 24 weeks out, 1 year out, and the amount of training that you've done over the years, let's say powerlifting ma success ल्याउने हो. तर अब last मा what you can do is, obviously we can't start to train heavy and expect to get stronger, but what we want to try to do is we want to be fatigued but also recovered at the same time, if that sort of makes sense. So we don't want to be fully recovered, but we have to mitigate some of the fatigue by lowering the volume but still keeping the intensity relatively high so that we're not extremely foreign with the weights that we're lifting, but at the same time we're not doing so much volume work that it's affecting our main lift. So we want to find that balance of the peak during the last phase. And I think I've done a video on my old YouTube channel, 5 common mistakes how people mess up during peak week bhanera. So I think if you guys can link this video to that, then you could watch that videos, and त्यसमा चाहिँ I talk slightly more in depth, but main goal चाहिँ fitness र fatigue को balance मिलाउने मात्रै.
So third question from Starving for Gains. How to increase SPD strength in short period of time?
So short period of time भन्नाले अब let's assume short doesn't mean like 1-2 weeks like we just talked about in another question. तर अब short period of time मा चाहिँ the most, if you've got more than 12 weeks or 16 weeks, which I consider it to be short, then we could spend the first half of the phase in trying to build muscle, especially because beginner level quick question ho yo, and I think you're more of a beginner level athlete, so I think you might want to focus about 8 to 12 weeks on building a lot of muscle. तर अब यो भन्दा shorter, if you're thinking like 6 weeks or something, then the best bet is to try to improve your leverages, efficiency, अनि more exposure to heavier loads, meaning like one rep गर्दै, then slowly you might want to add weight. But यस्तो हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ, again I'm saying beginner and advanced a lot, but if you're not very efficient in the movement and you only try to do one rep all the time, then you could run into a lot of issues, especially अब imbalances हुँदै जान्छ नि त बडीमा. So त्यो भएको भएर चाहिँ I wouldn't recommend it, but I think short term को लागि चाहिँ just try to add a 1 rep max would be a good way to add strength in a short period of time.
So fourth question from Arjun. So SPD competition मा use हुने rules को बारेमा डेमो को साथ अपलोड गरिदिनु होस् न, मिल्छ भने?
So मिल्न त मिल्छ, but I don't think it would make a lot of sense to upload a video about SBD rules because it's different from federation to federation हैन अनि most of the federation like even नेपालमा पनि even बाहिर पनि सबैजनाको एउटा रुल बुक हुन्छ हो त्यो डाउनलोड गरेर तपाईले त्यो पर्टिकुलर फेडरेसनको रुल बुक चाहिँ पढ्यो भने आई थिंक would make the most sense अब if you don't have any federation I think IPF को rule book, the latest update 2022 को update आइसक्यो जस्तो लागेको छ मलाई you could just go over the rule book and have a general idea about the rules. I don't think we're going to make a video on that.
So fifth question from Pawan, can you provide me intermediate powerlifting training schedule?
So intermediate powerlifting र beginner को चाहिँ अलिकति different हुन्छ training program तर अब intermediate, advanced, elite अनि अब world class मा चाहिँ there is not much of a difference in terms of how you do the programming. Most of the advancement level it comes from selection of load. तर अब intermediate भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ maybe there could be a bit more non-specific accessory exercises that might go into an intermediate training program. But हामीले टन्नै राखेको छ वेबसाइटमा intermediate training templates. We've got power building, we've got meat prep for intermediates. I think we've even got a muscle hypertrophy wala. And Peak with Ojas is about intermediate to advanced level ko training template. So you could definitely go check those things out. And हामीले free मा चाहिँ राख्दैनौँ because I mean like we're here to provide valuable information, content, all these things. तर free मा template राख्दाखेरि चाहिँ it could be misinterpreted अनि त्यो टेम्प्लेटले नराम्रो नाम पाउँदै जान्छ के ओभर टाइम सो वी डोन्ट वान्ट टु गिभ आउट फ्री टेम्प्लेट्स फर द्याट रिजन हाम्रो टेम्प्लेट्स छ तर हामीले टेम्प्लेट्स गर्दाखेरि पनि व्हाट डु से अलिकति लोड प्रिस्क्राइब आरपी रेन्ज वेट रेन्ज हामीले प्रिस्क्राइब गर्छ एक्सरसाइजेस बेस्ड अन वाट यु निड हामीले प्रिस्क्राइब गर्छ सो फ्रीमा प्रोग्राम दियो भने चाहिँ अब लेट्स से ओजस र मेरो ट्रेनिङ नै सेम ट्रेनिङ भए पनि अलिकति डिफ्रेन्टली अप्रोच गर्नुपर्छ विच वुड बी द मोस्ट एथिकल वे टु डु इट सो अब ओजसलाई मेरो एक्सर्साइज अथवा मैले ओजसको एक्सर्साइज गऱ्यो भने इभन इफ इट्स द सेम टेम्प्लेट त्यो फरक हुन्छ सो हामीले चाहिँ फ्री टेम्प्लेट चाहिँ अहिले गरेको छैनौँ बट मेबी इन द फ्युचर हु नोज वी माइट गिभ आउट अ फ्री ट्रेनिङ टेम्प्लेट स्टे ट्युन्ड फर द्याट
So there's 3 questions from Sandesh Rawal. How to increase bench?
How to increase bench? So bench more. Simple answer is to bench more. So सकेसम्म bench को frequency over time add गर्दै जाने नै हो at the end of the day bench को bench को strength बढाउनु तर अब benchलाई assist गर्ने मसलहरू especially everything in the upper body again if you're a more beginner to intermediate level athlete you might want to focus on a lot of variations which increase your chest, your arms, your tricep, your shoulders, your upper back, your lower back everything, basically everything in the upper body अनि त्यसपछि चाहिँ we want to add a weight slowly over time अनि assistance movements त्यति धेरै बेन्चमा believe it or not हामीलाई चाहिँदैन सो बेन्चमा चाहिँ बेसिकली भने सकेसम्म धेरै बेन्च गर्नु पर्यो तर अब 7 दिन गर्दाखेरि त you're definitely going to run into overuse issues injuries all those things so if you're benching once right now try to divide the volume and then do it twice a week so you get more practice again हामीले भने जस्तो more neurological adaptation technical practice technical improvements and obviously watch हाम्रो video on how to bench for proper technique and yeah over time धेरै गर्दै जाने हो as simple as that sounds
and the next is supplement for powerlifting
so supplements for powerlifting भन्ने चाहिँ त्यस्तो खासै हुँदैन I think supplement is general supplements required for every sport so maybe you could I don't know म त personally I don't use any supplements not even whey protein at the moment तर yeah supplements for powerlifting भन्ने त्यस्तो खासै हुँदैन but the ones that would work for sure is creatine because it's got a lot of evidence even though I feel like I'm a non-responder creatine is one I would say something to give you energy during the workout which is caffeine based would do a pretty fine job I guess and obviously if you have a nutritionist or a coach then maybe or a doctor who's advising you to fix some what do you say deficiencies in your body then you could use those supplements that I think supplements भन्दा पनि powerlifting लाई focus गर्नुपर्ने as long as you don't have any deficiencies is proper programming proper recovery proper technique all these things so yeah I think those things are gonna work more than what the supplements could work
and the last one training routine for strength
So yeah, अघि पनि मैले भनिहालेँ त, we've got enough templates in our page, and yeah, you could use any one of those, and those are fantastic. हामी आफै नै बसेर नै म ओजस नै बसेर नै हामीले we fill out the template for you guys. So it's a template, but it's more like a custom training block क्या template भन्दाखेरि पनि. So yeah, it's all over our page. That's what we're here to do. Otherwise, you could directly work with any of the coaches, or you don't even have to work with us. You could work with other coaches all around the world who knows what they're doing. So the free template हरूको पछि चाहिँ I would advise that you don't run after it, because anything could go wrong if you don't know how to make it yours.
Ninth question from Rishal: how long can bench plateau last?
It shouldn't last long, to be honest. Tarabo, what do you consider a plateau? Is it like 1 rep max, push garnu nasakirao ki, volume rep, push garnu nasakirao ki, injuries like plateau baneo ki? Because if you're only testing your 1 rep max every other week and you're not progressing, so that's not a plateau in a case, because we have a lot of other things to fix before we attempt the 1 rep max. So every time you go to the 1 rep max range, then I think you should be able to push the intensity a little bit more, as long as your programming is correct. And I don't think a plateau should ever exist. I've been benching for such a long time, squatting, deadlifting for such a long time, and I don't feel like I've hit a necessary plateau in the last 3 or 4 years. पहिला चाहिँ bench plateau भएको जस्तो लागेको थियो, but that was because of improper technique. अनि प्रोग्रामिङ चाहिँ राम्रै भए पनि टेक्निकले चाहिँ होल्ड ब्याक गरिरहेको थियो. बट इभन दो माई टेक्निक वाज बिङ हेल्ड ब्याक, तर मैले भल्युम वर्क प्रोग्रामिङ राम्रो भएर चाहिँ मेरो चेस्ट सोल्डर्स हाइपरट्रोफी भइरहेको थियो. बट एन्ड वेन आई सडनली चेन्ज इन्टु अ बेटर टेक्निक, देन माई बेन्च वेन्ट अप बाई लाइक 15 kgs इन लाइक लेस देन अ इयर. सो प्लाटो हुनु चाहिँ हुँदैन. इट सुडन्ट बी अ थिङ. It shouldn't be a thing.
So next question from Akrit Bikram. So what is water cutting?
Alright, so water cut is a strategy used by athletes, especially athletes that compete in a restricted weight category. But generally, like when I'm a 105 kg athlete, I'm walking around 108, 109 kgs, I know. But when I have to make weight, I'm not gonna remove body fat or lean body mass from my body to make weight. Rather, I'm removing the excess water from my body, which I'm consuming. Ani food volume हुन्छ गटमा हो, यो निकालेर चाहिँ टेम्पोररीली वेट मेक गर्ने हो. सो जेनरली हामीले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ दुईटा टेक्निक बढी युज गर्छ. सो फर्स्ट चाहिँ इज टु हेभ लो रेसिड्यू फुड. सो कार्ब्सहरू खाँदाखेरि चाहिँ इट होल्ड्स अ लट अफ वेट इन आवर बडी. सो फ्याट्सहरू जेनरली खाइरहेको हुन्छ. सो यो चाहिँ गटकोलाई भयो. सो लो रेसिड्यू फुड खायो भने अटोमेटिकली गटको फुड अलिकति कम हुन्छ. तर वाटर कट भनेको चाहिँ इट्स मोर लाइक अ टेक्निक द्याट लिड्स यु इन्टु डिहाइड्रेसन and sort of like trick your body हुन्छ नि. So first we drink a lot of water, 8 to 10 liters, keep our carbs high, keep our sodium high. But त्यो हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ हाम्रो बडीले पानी रेगुलेट गर्नलाई चाहिँ we start to urinate a lot. अनि eventually as we get closer to the competition, we remove sodium. So बडीमा excess water hold हुँदैन for a short period of time. त्यो पनि बडीले over time adapt गर्छ. अनि त्यसपछि when we stop drinking the water, हाम्रो बडीले त्यो fluid regulate गरि नै राख्छ नि त same way मा, until it realizes that it's already in a dehydrated state अनि हामीले externally पानी खाँदैन. सो यो हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ टेम्पोररीली चाहिँ हाम्रो वेट ड्रप हुन्छ. सो त्यो वेट ड्रप भएको स्टेटलाई चाहिँ वाटर कट स्टेट भनौँ न. अनि त्यसपछि once we've done the weigh-in, then we want to obviously replenish the fuel back into our body. So that's water cut.
So next question from Ashwin: can you elaborate breathing technique for bench press?
So bench press गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ हामीले जेनरली लाइक अब ब्रिथ गर्दाखेरि कि त लाइक यो चेस्ट एरियामा लान्छ कि त स्टमकमा लानु खोज्छ होइन. तर दुइटै गर्दा माथि तल अलिअलि भइहाल्छ. तर बेन्च प्रेस गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ वी बेसिकली वान्ट टु डु लाइक अ भ्याक्युम एन्ड देन एक्सप्यान्ड आवर चेस्ट. सो टेक अ सिप अफ एयर थ्रु आवर माउथ एन्ड देन एक्सप्यान्ड आवर रिब केज. इन द्याट यो गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ हाम्रो स्क्याप्स naturally go down and हाम्रो chest rise up. You want to hold your breath for the entire rep. So that's basically it.
So next question from Janice: how to choose accessory lift and in which block should we use respective accessories?
So accessories पनि अब it really depends, right? So let's say somebody like me who who's a pretty good squatter, has a lot of muscle mass in the lower body, and very efficient, strong. भने चाहिँ we don't need a lot of accessories to begin with, हैन. So only squats मात्रै गरिराख्यो भने that's enough. अनि maybe अलिअलि lagging muscle groupहरू हुन्छ lower body which the squat's not going to cover. हो त्यसको लागि maintenance volume मा राखिराख्यो भने that's basically all the accessory work that I do entire year. So I've never done like a front squat or a high bar squat in a long time, over a few years. But bench press ko कुरा गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ then I might need more accessories because I'm still not at that advanced or elite level. So यो हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ it's phase dependent. So when you're getting closer into the competition, then you want to do more of the primary movement. And further away from the competition, say you want to do more and more less specific work. So let's say deadlift ko, like the most specific work would be sumo deadlift. A little bit non-specific, let's say pause deadlift, right? A little bit more non-specific would be tempo deadlift. So अझै non-specific would probably be conventional deadlift for a sumo deadlifter. RDL अनि त्योभन्दा अझै उता जाँदै गयो hamstring अनि what do you say, hamstring curl. Like these are all accessories for the movement, primary movement. तर there is a spectrum भनौँ न, how specific to how non-specific. So closer to the comp, you want to be doing more and more specific stuff. Further away from the comp, you want to do more and more non-specific work, which you know is going to help you to fill the gaps that is missing in your primary lift over the mesocycle. तर अब एउटै विकमा पनि दुईटा deadlift day छ भने पनि you could go about it the same way. So दुईटै deadlift close to a comp, you probably want to do both the deadlifts, your comp style deadlift. तर let's say you're like 12 weeks away, one could be pause, one could be one could be a close variation. Spectrum भन्दा धेरै टाढाको variation हैन, तर close variation गरेर हुन्छ. So it depends on how far away from the competition you are, what your weaknesses are, all those things.
So next from Vijay, so bulking like 18 years like diet के होला?
So bulk चाहिँ age अनुसार चाहिँ diet हुँदैन. So generally when we're bulking, we want to be in a caloric surplus. I hope you know that. अनि calorie surplus, sometimes when you're younger and you're a hard gainer, maybe you cannot process enough food. यो हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ that could be another problem. So यस्तो problem हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ caloric goals hit गर्नु नसकेर चाहिँ you're probably not gaining weight, हैन, because you're young, metabolism is high, your activity is high, college पनि गएछ, साथीहरुसँग खेलेको छ, you're doing a lot of things here and there, working out at the gym, maybe working somewhere. So यो हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ calorie intake नपुगेर चाहिँ weight gain नभइराहो. So once you have a set caloric goal, if you don't know, then maybe you could hire a professional to help you कति calorie खानुपर्छ. But general online कोही calculator बाट पनि निकाल्यो भने पनि you will be around a good range. So यो भइसकेपछि चाहिँ when you're eating, you need to change some of the food sources that will allow you to eat more food. So basically, we don't want to eat something that's very high in complex carbohydrates, right? So we don't want to get a lot of vegetables like cauli, broccoli. मात्रै धेरै खायो भने चाहिँ it's going to be a lot of food volume, but not enough calories. So we want to focus on higher density foods. Let's say white rice, white bread. When we're choosing our meats, we could choose a little bit more fatty meats, like chicken breast मात्रै खायो भने 100 grams, let's say it's 200 calories, but if you add a leg piece, it could be 350 calories, हैन. So food density लाई चाहिँ बढाउने हो. Don't be afraid to take some fats as well, like fats भन्दैमा it's not going to be bad as long as your caloric needs are fine and your gut health is fine. So high density foods more add गर्नु पर्यो. अनि एकैचोटी धेरै खायो भने चाहिँ you're not going to be hungry for a long period of time. So I would maybe make the meals a bit smaller, let's say 4 to 5 meals a day. So you गऱ्यो भने चाहिँ it's going to be easier to consume more calories. So yeah, त्यही नै हो.
So next question from Sagar Gurung. I'm a sumo puller. I have hip shoot, chest drop problem. Please give me some tips.
So hip shoot, chest drop भने like sumo गर्दा conventional जस्तो भयो, sort of. So we've made a video on sumo deadlifts. I think त्यो video हेर्नु भयो भने चाहिँ it will solve your problem, because it's mostly to do with, I think, positional issue and not being aware of the right movement and movement pattern. So sometimes हामीले deadlift गर्दाखेरि अथवा कुनै पनि exercise गर्दाखेरि एउटा प्रिकन्सिभ नोसन हुन्छ यो गऱ्यो भने चाहिँ करेक्ट हो यो गऱ्यो भने चाहिँ रङ हो यस्तो भन्ने एउटा थट प्रोसेस हुन्छ तर सुमो डेडलिफ्ट गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ कुनै कुनै त्यस्तो थट प्रोसेसहरू मेबी आइ एम नट सेइङ यु आर डुइङ इट रङ बट मेबी कुनै कुनै क्युजहरू चाहिँ कुड बी स्टपिङ यु फ्रम डुइङ इट अप्टिमली सो हामीले त्यो भिडियोमा चाहिँ we've corrected it on someone who's not who had never done sumo deadlift properly निमा भाइ अनि उसको डेडलिफ्ट चाहिँ त्यहाँबाट हामीले फिक्स गरेको हो सो आई थिङ्क इट्स गन हेल्प यु अ लट तर सुमो डेडलिफ्ट गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ यु हेभ टु बी माइन्डफुल use the right muscles, be very calm and composed, and yeah, it should be fine. You just gotta change a few things.
So next question from VD Barbell. Thoughts on fitness industry as a business? Is there return on investment?
It depends on what type of investment you're doing. Let's say outside of fitness also, if you're investing money in the wrong places, it's not going to have any return on its investment. Or if you're working with the wrong person, if you're working with the wrong businesses, or putting money where the business isn't booming, then obviously it's not going to be a good return on investment. But like any other thing, let's say you want to be a doctor, you want to be an engineer, you want to be let's say anything. I'm just giving examples because these like general common they want to be doctors and engineers, but there's a process that goes behind becoming somebody successful. You have to go through college degree, then you have to go through your bachelor's degree, and then you have to go through your master's degree. Your sub time that you're spending, all this time, it's investment. So 12, 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, and then you're finally getting out into the world. And then slowly over time with experience, and if you're doing the right things for a long period of time, then eventually then there is return on investment. I think with the fitness industry also, it's very ekdamai skewed fitness industry, because people want to feel like they've invested a lot, but they've actually only been training for like 2 months and bought like duita juta, and they've considered that investment. So esto investment no one, there is not going to be any return. But if you've spent yourself in a worthy cause, like you've trained with the right people, you're learning from the right stuff, and then when you're eventually trying to expand your business, you're investing money and your time and effort, all these things, into the correct places, I think there is return on investment. Like for me personally, I've been powerlifting for let's say 6-7 years, and training for a bit longer than that, and I feel like I've made a quite significant amount of investment in my training journey, paying for my coaches, seminars, trying to learn, after training miss now going sleep, blah blah blah, all those things, and I feel like I do a pretty fine job. So yeah, there is investment if you're willing to take the right steps.
So next question from Jizu Limbu. Can we see Tyson that doing conventional deadlift?
I used to be a conventional deadlift puller ni paila. So my first comp in 2016 I pulled conventional 220. So that was a big thing back in the day. त्यसपछि like 17 पछि I haven't really done conventional, but I think around last year I pulled conventional like just for fun. कति सक्दो रहेछ 220 ले मेरो पुरानो म्याक्सले. I think I did 3 or 4 reps. जस्तै कि I'll send the guys the video, you can put it up on the screen. यो चाहिँ it's not a question, but I think कतिजनाले चाहिँ like sumo चाहिँ duplicate deadlift अनि conventional चाहिँ real deadlift त्यस्तो भन्छ. तर I think being a strong conventional puller will equate to a decent sumo puller. तर most of the good sumo deadlifters are also good conventional deadlifters. Like maybe if I can pull 280, 290 sumo, I think I can still pull 250 any given day on conventional. Weaker त्यस्तो चाहिँ हुँदैन. Like strong is strong is strong. Alright, so we're gonna move on to my Instagram page. मैले एकदमै short period of time को लागि मात्रै राखेँ, 2-3 घण्टाको लागि मात्रै, but we've got some questions. We'll go over them.
So next from Sasan Sakya, is mobilization exercise important?
So mobility को चाहिँ again misinterpretation छ generally fitness industry मा, because most of the people assume mobility to be flexibility, but that's not the case. But it's not totally wrong as well. तर mobility is the balance of flexibility, strength and technique. यो तीनटाको ब्यालेन्सलाई चाहिँ हामीले मोबिलिटी भन्छ. So you could be strong enough but you might not be flexible enough to hold the technique, होइन? So that's one common issue. तर sometimes you can be very flexible and you could get into a proper technical position, तर त्यो technical position मा you might not have the strength. So यो भयो भने फेरि मोबिलिटी मिलेन नि त. तर generally चाहिँ सबैजनाले flexibility मात्रै mobility सोच्दिन्छ क्या. So that's the problem. And I think mobility, if you understand the actual meaning, it's very, very, very important. So I'm mobile enough to do a sumo deadlift, but I'm not flexible to be a yoga person ni ta. So does that make sense? So मेरो hips wide राख्नु सक्छ मैले, very flexible हैन, hips को range एकदम flexible छ. I can hold a proper technique and have strength throughout the entire range of motion. So I'm a very mobile sumo deadlifter. But then if you just tell me, hey, Tyson त कस्तो mobile रहेछ भने, people would be like, oh no way, अति stiff होला यार यो त, जस्तो सोच्छ नि त. तर it's task specific नि त. So mobility भनेको चाहिँ त्यो तीनटै कुरा तपाईहरुले बुझ्नु पर्यो. अनि yes, mobility is very, very important. हामीले whole time हामीले balance चाहिँ खोज्नु खोजिरा हुन्छ नि त तीनटै कुराको. If you're strong, धेरै नै muscle tight भयो, तिमी flexible अलिकति चाहियो, यसमा पुगेन अथवा टेक्निक मिलेन, सो त्यसरी गर्न मिल्छ. सो yeah, mobility is important.
So next from Dikesh, is back soreness common after deadlift, squat or bench?
It's common, but if it's a if it's a reoccurring issue, like every session पछि, every week by week sore भइराछ भने चाहिँ there's something to do with the programming which is incorrect. But generally I would expect back or like even legs or whatever you've been training to be sore the first week of the mesocycle. So week 1 generally sore हुनु पर्यो, week 2 मा हल्का better हुनु पर्यो, week 3 मा you have to be performing very nicely, and eventually अब कति week को mesocycle हुन्छ. You shouldn't be sore every single time, तर सुरुमा sore हुनु चाहिँ is fine.
So next question from Ayush Acharya, benefits of creatine.
Alright, so I think creatine को चाहिँ हामीले मोहित दाइले राम्ररी एक्सप्लेन गर्नु भएको थियो Q&A भिडियोमा नै हो. So you can watch that video and he explains it, he can explain it way better than me, so I leave that to him.
So next question from Kusal Shrestha. So tried every technique known to a man, but every time I squat it always goes to my butt and never on my quads.
So यस्तो हुन्छ, you don't necessarily have to use one muscle over the other. If you're a bit more glute dominant, obviously glute more use हुन्छ, and if you're a bit more quad dominant, quad more use हुन्छ, and that's the nature of the sport. We just gotta build strength from what we're dealt with. And त्यसपछि चाहिँ, but if you feel like quads is a big limiting factor, then we might want to add a lot more exercises that demand knee extension, so that we can use more knees during the squat. But it shouldn't matter as long as your programming is proper and you're choosing the right weights and you're making progress over time. Then I think it doesn't matter what you're using more compared to the other muscle. But your programming needs to be correct so that you can keep making progress with what you've got.
So next from Fit Engineer, something about fatigue management during prep.
So fatigue management ko lai chai biggest thing, biggest pillar is your programming. So if you're doing more than what you can recover from, there's no way you can manage the fatigue. So first things first, you gotta be very smart with your programming. So that's the number one step. So यो भइसकेपछि, if your programming is correct, तर which programming मा चाहिँ सबै कुरा accounted पनि हुनु पर्यो नि त. How is your sleep, how is your recovery, with nutrition, how is your stress outside the gym, activity levels कस्तो छ, यो सबै कुरा मिलाएर programming बनाएछ भने programming is the number one derivating factor हैन. The things you can do to improve that threshold is obviously good sleep. Sleep अब यति hours भन्दिनँ म, but you should feel well rested and you should be able to go through days without caffeine, especially on like deload timeहरू भइराख्दाखेरि. अनि nutrition is important. Nutrition and protein the most important one. अनि I don't believe so much in soft tissue release, यस्तो ताउती स्ट्रेचिङहरूले त्यति हेल्प गर्दैन जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई. It's got its place, but those things are far more important in my point of view. And yeah, during prep you just gotta suck it up. Sometimes like हुन्छ नि, it's gonna get tough regardless of everything. and that's how you make progress. So I think you should be fine if you've got good programming, or if you don't have a coach, you know the drill. We've got training templates. I can coach you, Ojas can coach you, and we've got other coaches at Oxtrength too.
So next question from Kusal Shrestha, chin-ups or pull-ups?
I think it's two different movements which looks very similar. तर when you're generally chin up गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ hands are wider, so hands wider हुनु साथै you're targeting, let's say, the higher part of your lats, upper back तिर more target हुन्छ, and when you're closing in it goes more like बिचतिरको muscle and lower lats तिर more use हुन्छ. अब भर्सेस भनेछ कि के भनेछ?
यसो भनेछ चिन-अप भनेछ यो हो नि त
चिन-अप यो भयो
तपाईले यस्तो भनेको
ए हो
सो चिन-अप अर पुल-अप क्वेशन मार्क हो
पुल-अप चाहिँ यो भयो
पुल-अप चाहिँ यो भयो
सो अब ह्यान्ड्स वाइडर हुनु साथै नै वेयर targeting more of the upper back region when your hands are closer, regardless of this position or this position, pronated or supinated. Hand placement, let's say, more difference make garne rather than the supination and pronation. Right? So wider hands hundakeri चाहिँ generally chin up गरिराख्दाखेरि चाहिँ we're targeting more of the upper back, upper lats region. And when we're closing in, then we're like यसरी नै close गरे भने पनि we're targeting the lower lats more. तर when we're supinated, then we're using more of the biceps, and when we're pronated, we're using more of the forearm brachialis muscle and also the bicep. So depends on what you want to work on. But I think different ठाउँमा different strength standards पनि छ दुईटै pull up र chin up को. I don't think there is much of a difference.
So next from Suraj Singh Rana, does SPD or any other good knee sleeves helps in squat? How much jump do we get?
Yes, it definitely helps, and I think SBD is the best knee sleeve that you can get. I think it's the most all-rounded knee sleeve for everybody, and I would recommend SBD to most people. And yeah, it of course helps. It depends on how strong you are, right? So if you're squatting 50 kgs, it might help you squat 60 kgs. But if you're squatting 250 kgs, it might help you squat 270 kgs. So अब ठ्याक्क यति 5 किलो 10 किलो म भन्न सक्दिनँ, but it's a skill also. So सुरुमा लाउँदाखेरि you might not get as much as when you start to get more and more advanced on the lift. मलाई personally, I don't know how much I would be able to squat without knee sleeves because कहिले गरेकै छैन, and it's also like a skill based move, but I'm sure it helps a lot.
So next question from Music God, does lack of sleep affect heavy lifting? Because I felt it today, could not deadlift, which
yes.
I always lift.
Yes, it affects a lot. It affects definitely sleep. I think after programming, the number, like programming I think more important for daily health and life, sleep is the most important thing you can do to improve your health, improve your recovery, outside of other things such as exercise and programming. But sleep definitely helps a lot, definitely.
So next question from Captain Dipesh, why injure sleep for 275? Why not SPD?
खासमा चाहिँ यस्तो हो, I feel like injure and SBD, if you can get a small enough size SBD on your knee sleeve, it's about the same amount of support that you're gonna get. So for me, like my calves, ankles are shin, my calf and knee is about 17 inches in diameter, right? Diameter the bhancha. Just my calf and knees 17 inches ho, and like I can literally fit into a size small SBD sleeve. But injured I have to go true to size. Abo SBD true to size would probably be like a large or a medium. But SBD I can fit into a much smaller size. The only reason I chose Inzer is, first of all, I got it from Muay at a very, very low price and I bought it. But it's very easy to take it off and remove compared to the size small SBD, so that's the only reason I wear Inzer over SBD. I've squatted 270 in SBD around 6-7 months back, so I think that 270 is a bigger PR than 275 right now.
So next question from Camps23, how to build strength?
You have answer So first question is there.
So next question from Srishti, I'm only 18 years old. What should I do to lose weight? Please reply. Sending lots of love.
Yeah, so अघि पनि हामीले 18 को थियो अर्को पनि, तर he wanted, I think he or she थियो, he wanted to gain weight अनि अहिले you want to lose weight. So अब एजले गर्दाखेरि त्यति धेरै differently कुरा गर्नु पर्दैन. If you're younger, it might be easier to lose weight just because of your metabolic health and all these things, होइन. So basically you want to be in a caloric deficit in order to lose weight. अघि नै अब मैले you want to be eating, अब तर अब एकदमै low calories हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ you might be really really hungry at times. So यो हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ we want to eat, अघि नै मैले high density food भनेको थिएँ, अब low density high volume food खानु पर्यो के. So let's say we could swap out our bread with oatmeal, because for the same amount of food we're getting a lot more protein, we're getting a lot more volume. We want to add a lot of vegetables, fruits, vegetables into our diet, so धेरै volume हुन्छ. So त्यो खाने अनि caloric goals hit गर्ने मात्रै हो. And like always, if you don't know what you're doing, then maybe you could work with a nutritionist. We've also got one that you could work with any nutritionist who knows what they're doing. So they know age सँग related छैन.
So last question from Devans Kosaju. Is instant noodle a good source of protein?
जोकै हाने होला. तर it's not a good source of protein for sure, because सबै amino acid profile हुँदैन in most vegetable sources of protein, होइन. So अब maybe instant noodles, I'm not too sure about the amino profiles, because like I don't use instant noodles as my primary source of protein. तर अब if I'm sure there is some protein, because I have instant noodles once in a while. Tara, if you're consuming protein from higher bioavailable sources of protein such as whey, eggs, meats, bhani, and some protein from instant noodles, that's completely fine. 10-15 grams a day is completely fine. It won't make much of a difference. And मैले यो कुरा चाहिँ question हैन, तर this is something that I've changed over my career as a trainer and athlete. पहिला चाहिँ मैले I would only count protein that comes from like high bioavailable sources. तर now I'm in much okay terms with even consuming protein from less reliable sources of protein. But as long as your protein intake is being met and you're having some good sources of protein, you should be fine. Alright guys, so that was all the questions that you guys asked us on Instagram. I had a lot of fun answering all these questions, and we hope to do more of these in the future. So yeah, you guys know that we are providing customized training templates to take your training to the next level. Check them out in our website. Personal one-on-one coaching with myself, Ojas, Neha, Moidai. Also links in the description. If you want a gym apparel, everything related to fitness, we've got you guys covered. And until next time, be strong.